Gabrielle Rudolf von Rohr is the head of the Cantonal Audit Office in Solothurn, Switzerland, for more than 10 years. Prior to that, she held several positions in the professional environment, has a profound history in the M&A sector, and altogether more than 25 years of relevant experience. But not only that. Since 2015, she is the president of Global Institute of Internal Auditors in Switzerland, the IIA. As a certified public accountant and CGAP, she knows very well when it comes to internal audit and integrity. And that is what we will talk about today. Internal audit and integrity. Not only when internal audit is conducting their audit plan, also the integrity we expect from internal auditors. And as always, when I talk to my guests, I'm interested of what is not obvious, what is not yet written in the curriculum. I would like to learn about the human who impacts corporate integrity. What kind of secret will Gabrielle share with us today? I'm glad to have you here spending the next minutes together with us.
Corporate integrity, fraud, non-compliance, and cybersecurity. Would you like to understand the root causes, detect threats, and take measurements to protect the most precious assets? As a leader, you need to be prepared and stay actionable in the event of an incident. Sonja Stirnimann talks in her podcast, The Human Factor, Corporate Integrity Matters, to leaders and entrepreneurs who want to have impact, foster corporate integrity, and act as role models. As an international expert for corporate governance and integrity, entrepreneur, and independent board member, she knows the challenges. Let her inspire you.
So, Gabrielle, thank you very much for being here and accepting my invitation. It's not usual because some people say really don't like to be on spot, especially if you are in such an environment as you are in internal audit. And when I correctly remind myself, we both know each other now for more than a decade and immediately connected based on our values for integrity. Isn't it?
Yeah, that's kind of true. I was thinking of when we met the first time, and I guess it was on a training for integrity, maybe.
Yes,
and you were
so.
there as a speaker, and I was really taken into this topic from the first moment you showed up, and you told everything about this human factor. I guess since already then you mentioned that the human being is the most important part in this field of ethic, integrity, and how to reduce the risk for fraud.
And so since then, we are in constant exchange about all these kind of topics and challenges.
Exactly.
But today, I really would like to focus on you, about you and your professional environment, and also your own experience when it comes to corporate integrity, because I think you have a lot of challenges as an expert in internal audit, and that is very important, as you mentioned it already in the beginning, being the president of the professional body for internal auditors. And I think also our listeners and myself are so curious and would like to learn more about you, if that's okay for you.
Of course. Thank you for having me at your podcast. It's an honor for me to speak with you. And I hope I don't mess up, and I hope we have an interesting discussion, the two of us.
Messing up is not an option because it will never happen, because we just had a conversation now between you and me and all of the listeners, because I know they are interested in what you have to tell us right now. And I would like to start right now with the role corporate integrity plays for you as being a president. I think it's orchestrating such kind of professional body could be a challenge.
Yeah, it's a great challenge. You know, we have all different sectors we represent. We have the financial sector as one of our most important members. Then we have the all the administration, with all these audit offices, which one of them I'm leading, and then the industry, the multinational industry, pharma industry. So it's like every sector you can imagine. And then we are quite fast in the difficult topic. I mean, all the banking system in Switzerland. Sometimes they struggle with law in foreign countries. Then we have the industry, multinational, maybe with some representatives or some companies in foreign countries, like in developing countries, and probably their corruption has another meaning than it has in Switzerland. And so if I go as the president of this institute and say there is no space for corruption for internal auditor all over the world, there is no space for not having ethical behavior on every step you take. So I'm already in the middle of a big discussion.
Can you speak up like that? Because I think, or what I also experience, is that integrity is still a taboo. And it's sometimes not that easy to discuss because everybody wants to talk about it somehow, but please only on the surface. Huh? Don't go into all the details. That's what I see.
Yes, I've never speaked up that way, and I guess it wouldn't be appreciated from everybody. As I mentioned, probably you have a production company in somewhere in Asia, and then I would say, listen, you as internal auditor, you have to go there and you have to get rid of child work, you have to get rid of corruption, you name it. And then you say, well, but that's part of our business,
Mm-hmm.
And so how can I go as internal auditor and say to my board or say to my management, we have to get rid of that. We cannot product our products anymore in those countries. I wouldn't get very far with my discussion. So it's, those kind of topics we don't have on the highest point of the agenda as an institute. But what is really important for me that this, as an internal auditor and as a function, there of course you have to show 100% of integrity. You have to show 100% of independence, and that's where I focus more than on the work itself the auditor does.
Mm-hmm.
But as a person and as a function, it's I mean, it's keen to be integral, to be independent, and to show confidentiality, objectivity. Otherwise, you cannot conduct your work.
And you as a president, I imagine, being a president, you are also the one leading the topics, what you have now.
Yes.
For example, for a Swiss chapter. And what kind of role does integrity play? When you have your agenda, for example, your agenda of topics, I don't know whether you have yearly plans as a president, for such a chamber, but, is it, do you have it set as a topic, or is it just underneath everything?
The most important topic for me is like independency.
Mm-hmm.
And integrity, from my point of view, goes with those independency. And so it's always, it's part of it. And a couple of years ago, I wrote an article about the behavior of internal auditors with board members, with management. And there, of course, integrity plays an important role.
Absolutely. Yeah. And what do you see? That's just the opinion you have right now. And I know you as a leader of integrity, but I could also imagine that you don't have, there are different perspectives. And I also know from several discussions that not all internal auditors have the same understanding of being independent. Sometimes I also see that internal auditors are rather the body of the operational boards and executive boards than being the, how should I say, the bodies of, for example, the audit committees, which should rather be the topic than being too close to the ones they have to audit afterwards.
Yes, I see those examples as well. Probably it's not the right thing to be body to anybody.
Absolutely.
Internal audit needs to be independent, also kind of from the board, and I would more see it as a sparring partner for the board, for the audit committee. Yeah, maybe it's kind of it's a misinterpretation or a misunderstanding. We raised the topic a couple of years ago. We said that internal audit or the head of internal audit needs a seat at the table.
Yeah.
So we wanted that internal audit is more visible. Internal audit discusses the topics with the management on the same height. And then, so we pushed also with the IAA Global, we pushed that the internal audit needs to be more important. And so some, they thought, well, if I have a seat at the table, so I'm part of the management team, so I'm part of every session of the management team, so I'm part of every social event of the management team, like every wine tasting, like, you name it, like everything. And there I see it's getting difficult, because then you really become a body of them. You become part of them. You go for a big dinner, you drink a little bit too much alcohol, you go to the bar afterwards, and you tell maybe things about you or hear private things about the management. And then you get like together.
Absolutely.
And then you... how can you be independent the other day when it comes to like a real difficult issue from the internal audit? You are biased.
Absolutely.
You have to show me the man or the woman not being biased by being too close to the management.
Absolutely.
Or maybe there's a big event like the movie festival in Zurich, and you go there at first row with some other, not with some other, but with stars on your side. Then you're too much involved in the company, too much involved in everything, and you're... it's difficult to be objective the way you should be as an internal auditor.
I fully support your opinion on that. And I also think, as you mentioned before, they shouldn't be body of anybody. They also have to be independent when it comes to discussion on the board level, also on the non-executive board level, because I think what I expect as a board member, I would like to have someone I can really discuss topics. Like you said, as a sparring partner, I don't need to have someone who just says yes because I had an idea, because I would like to be challenged. I also like to be challenged as a board. And I hope that you also have enough executive board members who would like to be challenged. But to be honest, That's not what I see right now. All these nasty questions from internal auditors, they are often not welcome. And they are not nasty, but they are perceived as that. And at the end, we would like to bring forward our organizations, and we need to have a strong internal audit team. And what you mentioned before about being part of every social event, it also goes into the direction, what I see right now, some internal auditors think they need to be incentivized for their work. And here I have a clear opinion. I would like to know your opinion on that. How are you going to incentivize, or are you going to incentivize internal auditors?
My opinion is that let's start with the head of internal audit. This person needs to have a good salary, which is about in the range of the salary of the other management. Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't have to be like when you have a bank, the CEO of a large bank, and he gets like millions. It's not what I mean, but at least he starts or she starts with a reasonable salary, and then that's it. So there's no bonus, or at least no bonus on the profit of the company, because then already you're biased again. I mean, then you will probably look for audit topics which could raise the profit, and not look for audit topics that could potentially reduce the profit. And so I'm not a fan for a bonus when it comes to when it's connected to the profit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so for me, it's the best thing. It's like a fixed salary and no bonus. Why? Because I think the head of internal audits, it needs to be a person with a lot of integrity. You should rely on this person as an audit committee, and you choose the person you think fits the best. And then you think this person just does a good job. And so there's no need for any other incentives than just having this person on this position, chosen very well, and just have this regular conversations as a board member, have these private meetings, and challenge each other during those meetings. And if one day you think this person doesn't do a good job anymore, then you try to put the person back on track. And if it doesn't fit anymore, probably you have to choose another one. But so I don't really think that it's incentives are needed for the head of internal audit.
What do you think about the bonuses not related to the profit? For example, if you have really a great internal audit team, and they had to perform additional audits due to some, investigations or whatever kind of special events we also face as an organization. What do you think about these kind of bonuses, due to extraordinary workload or effort or whatever?
I guess if it's after the work is done, and then the audit committee decides, wow, now this was they went the extra mile. This really extremely relevant audit report, and we move forward in this topic. Okay, why not giving them at the end extra bonus? But to say upfront, okay, guys, by the end, when you went some extra miles, you get some extra money. That's, for me, it's not the right way to incentive the internal audit.
But retrospectively, you also could think about.
Yeah, I mean, it would be like a reward for the work you have done.
Exactly. And retrospectively, and not telling them that they could achieve, or if they achieve extraordinary reports, because that's also what I expect. I expect always the best from the team, because that's what we pay them for. And I think we should make sure that we really pay a salary which is marketable, and that they can also be proud of having such a function, because I think it's one of the most important functions you can have within an organization, to protect also the future of the company. When we are now talking about all these bonuses and incentives and biases, may I ask you a rather personal question? Because I think our listeners are also interested. Who is that human being, being the president, and have such a deep knowledge? Have you ever been in the situation that your personal integrity was under pressure or at risk?
Probably constantly a little bit at risk. Maybe it's not because they want to pull internal audit on your side, but I feel constantly people trying to involve me, also on the political level. So I have my discussions with the Commission of Finance, and there we have all these parties. I mean, you have all the parties, in Switzerland, and of course they sometimes try to put you on your side, and maybe you feel a little bit more comfortable on the left side, and so you kind of identify yourself more with the social party and think, well, probably they're right, and then you go back to the office and say, oh wait,
what happened here?
What happened here? You took the risk to be a little bit to be biased, to go into social engineered. Exactly. And it's not on purpose they do that. I mean, it's their role, and they have to represent their party. So it's already in that part. And then we have all the administration, we have the head of different departments, and then you have you call each other by first name or first name term, and then they think like, oh, Gabrielle, now we know each other for a couple of years, and this audit you plan in my department. It's it's really, I'm really under pressure. Yes, I know. And it's such a critical business there. Yes, I know. So why don't you audit this only next year?
So concrete. Okay, they are really awesome.
Oh, so concrete. Yeah, we'll try. Yeah,
you can always try. Maybe but I think they should know you now for that long that they know. No, she's not going to change her plans.
Yeah. So I mean, what we do, we just sometimes we say, okay, it's not in October because they're really under pressure, so we show up in November. Maybe next year, no, we definitely have to do this audit in November, or we just can, a little bit change or enlarge the topic, but just take it away from the schedule. That's one thing I don't know, or put something on the schedule. This is also, sometimes they ask me, well, this head of this office is he's retiring next October. So could you make an audit in November, so we kind of clean up everything, and then the new person being in charge has like a clean desk. So it's definitely not our duty to do this, and then I say no. So no, they're constantly, you're a little bit
negotiating all the time.
Negotiating,
it's
yes.
like the little child who would like to have something from you. It's because, you are now in the business for more than 25 years. And you exactly know how to cope with it. But what are the tips you could give also the younger generation doing that? Because you also grew into that role, and you are a person of a lot of integrity, and you know exactly, I think I wouldn't know anybody who could really influence you or bias you or social engineer you that you're going to change your plan. Definitely not, as I know you, for the last few years. But I think there are also other people, not yet that mature to cope with such situations.
I mean, yes, you know me, and I start from the very extreme point. I say, if I can do my work the way I want to do it, then I quit. And so if now the government tells me you should do this audit, and I just don't want to do it, or you should just not disclose this report, if it comes to the extreme, then I quit. And then I'm really ready to do that.
And you have a mindset of independence, absolutely, a very strong one. But not all the internal auditors are like that. That's also what we experience out in the market right now.
I'm sure it's not everybody has the same mindset. But just I would tell this to anybody who wants to hear it, or who asks me, how do you do it? And I would suggest, try to come in this position. Try to come to this point. Okay, when they don't do what I would like to do, I should be able to go away. Mm-hmm. So you really then have your independence. Now, of course, then you have to negotiate a little bit, but just don't be afraid of saying no. Don't be afraid of speaking up, and nothing can happen to you, I guess. But just don't be afraid to speak up. I guess you always have somebody being somebody who protects you. Either you have the board who needs to protect you, and this is crucial. I mean, the board really has to protect internal audit. And if there's like one board member who doesn't like you, there is still a handful of other board members. If there's just one manager who doesn't like you, and so there's still others. And if you do professional work, you can prove what you do. You can defend why you say no. Mm-hmm. I guess you don't have to be afraid to say no.
No, absolutely not. And I think I really like the sentence you said, don't be afraid to speak up. And there is always someone who protects you. And if not, you are in the wrong place, in the wrong company, in the wrong organization. So if the board is not backing you up as internal auditor, you have to think about the value such a company has. And then I think that's another indicator, if you have no support, that you should find another place to be active as an internal auditor.
Definitely. Yep. And I mean, it starts when you go to work there. I mean, for an internal auditor, even though you're not in charge of the whole team, but you have to check the governance. You have to check who is on the board. How is the organization of this company? The internal audit, does it have an audit charter? So is the function itself, it's really put in the organization the way it should be from the rules of the IEA Global. And if this is not the case, so probably you shouldn't go to work for this company, because that's really important, that if you find out something which is maybe the management does wrong or takes too many risks, or there is some bribery, you come with a report and nobody protects you. I mean, how can you do your work?
Do you ever propose your members of your institution? Do you suggest them to do a background check on the board before they start as internal auditor?
So far, not officially.
Because I think that's very important. As an internal auditor, before
course.
you start, you have to do a background check, and also on the board, because that's what I think is often forgotten. Because you think they are just the board, but at the end, the board is what needs to protect you, and at the end, the board is the client of the auditor's work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I probably can tell you really something from really my private experience. A couple of years ago, I was about to change my position because I had a offer from a private company, and I went through all this process of recruiting, and it all went fine so far. I knew the company, and I thought, well, that would be really a very interesting job as head of internal audit. But then, just before I had to speak with the audit committee, I met the CEO. I had to meet the CEO, and this was such an awful discussion, was such an awful interview. Inside of me, everything broke. And I said, do I really want to work with this person? And on the one hand, I was really on the top 3 or the last 3 persons for this job. Very nice company. Thought I'm going to get a very nice salary, a very nice position. I was like, wow. But I couldn't handle it. I spoke with the audit committee, but after this interview, a person said to me, you haven't been yourself in this interview with the audit committee. And of course, I didn't get this job because in my heart, I didn't want to have this job because I just couldn't imagine to work with those persons. And only then I realized how, I would not say bad, but how not perfect this governance situation is.
And how important it is, isn't it?
And how important it is.
And I think there are many people out there, they would take that job if they would receive it. And maybe they would also play a role in front of the audit committee or the CEO just to get the job. But at the end, I think it's not beneficial for both sides, not for the internal auditor, nor for the company itself. Because if it's not matching for such a crucial position, it's not really supporting the goals and the strategy.
Not at all. And I mean, I couldn't do anything. It was just inside of me. Everything was dead, and so in the end, I didn't have a chance to convince the audit committee to hire me. And
you also didn't want to, Gabrielle.
I didn't want to. I didn't want to. But on the one hand, I said, wow, I need to have this job. It's cool. And on the other hand, which was, I guess, more prominent in myself, I didn't want it, so I didn't get it.
Well, thank you very much also for that insight.
It's very private.
That's a really private one. Yeah, thank you very much. I think also our listeners appreciate that. And when you look now, you as a person, as the human being here, and also the president from the professional side, what do you expect as trends and the potential of corporate integrity when it comes to internal audit for the next few years? I know we cannot we all don't know what happens over the next few years, but I think you have some kind of ideas, and maybe also on your agenda what you would like to have, what kind of impact you would like to have in your environment.
It still was already important so far, but I guess it gets even more important when you see worldwide or also Switzerland, the companies being under pressure for all those ESG topics. Corporate governance is getting more important because the younger generation coming after us, they are more critical. They are very well informed. You have social media, bad news are spread very fast. They make their opinion and they decide. Young people decide, and then just change products or also change companies when they are employees. And so, internal audit is even as a function more important, but also the personality, the integrity, and also the independency. In that environment, it's getting more important, and it's important that both sides, you choose your company, you choose your board members, and the board chooses the internal audit and staff, so they can, on a confidential base, they can work really together and go forward with the company and try to resolve all the risks coming up in the future, and especially from those, as I mentioned, these ESG topics.
So, are internal auditors the future rock stars?
Of course. I mean, they're already.
You are already, isn't it? Gabrielle, I'm going to post it on LinkedIn. Internal auditors, our new and being rock stars.
Yes.
So, but thank you very, very much, Gabrielle. It was so a pleasure to listen to you and to learn from your experience. And also thank you for your insights, the personal ones also, because we have a lot of listeners, more than 70 countries are reached. And I wish you all the best for your future, orchestrating the internal auditors and having the impact you would like to have. And I'm looking forward to our next conversation. So thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Sonja, for having me on your podcast. It was really a great pleasure, and good luck for you with your work and on or with the human factor. And looking forward to seeing you next time.
This was the episode number 34 of the Human Factor Corporate Integrity Matters. Following the motto, corporate integrity secures and empowers individuals and organizations. Would you like to learn more, meet peers and getting qualified? So visit the website Corporate Integrity Concepts or Corporate Integrity Academy. Or do you think this podcast could be interesting for someone you know? Sharing is caring, and we are always happy to welcome your peers to our community. And if you like this episode, subscribe and don't miss any of the future ones. The show notes are, of course, enriched with relevant information, and your connection via any of the social media channels is highly appreciated and will be answered. Promised. And please do not forget, topics of your interest or interview partners are highly welcome. Just send me a note on any of the channels you know. Thank you for listening. My name is Sonja Stirnimann and I am your host. Stay curious, actionable and a role model. Take care and goodbye.